If you've been following my channel, you would know that I like fighting games. I like anime. I like anime fighting games. And recently I've been revisiting and discovering a lot of old Naruto and Dragon Ball games, particularly Naruto Clash of Ninja, Gekido Ninja Tyson, and Dragon Ball Z Budokai. And I thought of an idea for a video that would detail my dream Naruto fighting game. So I sat down and wrote 2 different genres of fighting games. One for 3D fighters like Tekken and Soul Calibur, the other for 2D fighters like Dragon Ball FighterZ and BlazBlue. I finished the 3D portion of the script and I began to write the 2D half. However, I, on my glorious stupidity, thought to myself, I could probably make a 2D Naruto game if I tried. So that's exactly what I did. I attempted to make my own 2D Naruto fighting game, and it's going... well, it's going. I would like to add that the footage you're going to see, some of it at least, is going to look weird. Some of it's going to be too long because I had to record it somewhere else. And some of it's going to look choppy because that's how I looked when I was recording for some reason. But overall, I hope you continue to watch. I knew making video games was hard because it involved coding. But I thought I could learn because I dabble in making simple websites that are mostly static. JavaScript sucks. A few years back, I tried to get into game dev by learning and downloading Unreal Engine. Just like with this project, I thought I could make a simple 2D fighting game. Back then, I used Arcana Heart sprites as a test, but I quickly realized, even though Unreal Engine can be used for 2D games, it is not the best for 2D game development. This was before I knew anything about syntax, nesting, or anything that was related to coding in general. I didn't know what a coding language was either. So like what most depressed people do when they don't have to do something, I quit. But the idea of making my own fighting game, or a game in general, never left the back of my mind. Fast forward today, I decided to try again. First thing I needed to do was pick a game engine. There are plenty out there, but because I basically don't have any coding skills beyond the little that I know from making static web pages, I wanted to go with something that even a complete novice like me could understand. Unreal Engine was off the table as I had already attempted to make a 2D game using it. But one thing I did like about Unreal Engine was that I didn't have to look at code in some cases, in most cases. That's probably why I failed on that one. I narrowed it down to visual coding or no coding options at first. This left my picking slim. I also had to reduce the pool even more as I only had 14 cents in my bank account. If you want to help a brother out, help a brother out. That brought it down to one option, Scratch, but I did not want to use Scratch. Now, this is because I've been dabbling on and off with Unreal Engine. I decided that I wanted to dive deeper into coding. I stumbled across the CS50 Harvard course where they teach you the basics of coding or computer science, and the first project you do in the class is in Scratch. And while Scratch is something similar to what I was looking for, I knew that it was limiting to an extent, but I did make a little project in there though. I was about to give up again. I couldn't find an engine that fit me and my needs. I was about to scrap this whole idea and leave it in the video graveyard. Then I saw a video pop up on my YouTube page about an engine. It was a visual coding space like I wanted. It was free to use outside of exporting, and I didn't have to sit there and download the engine itself as it was web based, but you could download it. I thought, I finally found it, my game engine. And this game engine is GDevelop. GDevelop is, like I said before, a visual coding development environment that relies on pre-made lines of code for ease of use. You can download pieces of it to make it easier on yourself, and it has a connection to a pixel drawing app called Piscale. I decided to use the online version as I wanted to use my Chromebook for portability as I sat down outside with my dog, and for the most part, it was rather pleasant. I know you shouldn't use a Chromebook for developing games and stuff, but that's all I have that is portable. I don't want to use my PC for that stuff for now. This is just something I'm dabbling in. Unlike with Unreal Engine, I was able to understand why things were working the way they were. I was able to organize my code rather easily, and tutorials by the official GDevelop YouTube page that is always up to date and uploading helped me guide to a somewhat playable game in 2 different instances. Just a demo for like the fighting game that I was trying to do now, as well as like a 2D platformer with free assets and stuff. But I ran into some issues that made me want to switch engines again. As I was using the web version of GDevelop, I ran into some weird bugs. Sometimes the Piskel app wouldn't open. Other times when I tried to upload sprites for a specific animation, it would be the sprites that I had used for another animation. This caused me to restart a few times and made development harder than it should be. Also, when I deleted some sprites, they would ask me about an error when I restarted, saying there was an error getting these sprites. Luckily, I could ignore it and get back to making the game. This leads me to my last complaint, saving. I turned on autosaving as I was on the web app, and sometimes it wouldn't autosave. Other times it wouldn't let me manually save either, making me lose a lot of progress I had made. On top of other frustrations that come with game development, this in the end made me want to switch engines again to something way less familiar. I decided I couldn't avoid coding completely, so I opened my restrictions from Broke Boy engine that requires no coding to Broke Boy engine that requires a little bit of coding. This led me back to one of the options that I had before in Godot or Godot, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to go deep into explanation because I still don't have a good grasp of the engine, but Godot or Godot is an open source engine for games that has its own coding language. It is an engine that requires you to know a little bit of coding before you get a grip on it, but I thought, might as well, I ain't got nothing to lose. That, and I could use it offline, and it was small, and it was light, compact, all of that. So that's what I did. I learned a little bit about the engine, made a tutorial project that was in the documents, and I began to make my Naruto game. Before I started building, I needed to get my concept in order again. I already knew what I wanted it to be, a 2D fighter, so I planned everything around that concept. But first, I was still getting accustomed to the Godot engine, so I decided to keep everything simple first, particularly the movement. But my end goal is to have a game where a character can double jump, air dash, wall climb, and have cool combo systems to go along with those mechanics. First, I started with actually getting my sprite to move. In this case, I used Sasuke. I put in some code from the Godot documentation to get my character to go from left and right across the play area, but my character kept falling out of the view window. So I set up a camera to keep him from falling out of view. This isn't how the camera would be in the final version if I ever get to it, but it's good enough for now to get all his animations and stuff working the way I want them to. Afterwards, I thought it would be a good idea to give a background and a platform for Sasuke to stand on. I fiddled around with some different ones and I went with this rocky plain background. Sasuke couldn't stand on the background photo, so I made an invisible collision box for him to stand on. And I aligned that collision box with the ground on the background photo. I also made these boundaries and I zoomed in on Sasuke so you can't see the gray background outside of the viewport. Now that all of that was sorted, I wanted to get my animation going. I went into my Sasuke sprite and I added animations that I needed. I kept it simple by adding a run and a jump and attack animations first. With animations added, I put them in an animations tree to configure what move flows into another. As I only have 2 attacks programmed so far, the combo system isn't looking too hot, but I'm content with what I have now. So after going through multiple engines, this is all I have for right now. A run, a jump, a double jump, and attack animations. I will say that this still confuses me. I followed a tutorial and tried to adapt as much as possible of that to this project, and it's paying off somewhat. It's not much, but I'm okay with that for right now. After recording the audio, I decided to go back and try to add more, and I ended up adding more animations. I even added a Chidori animation for Sasuke, a death animation, as well as a windscreen. I will say that I've been enjoying the process a lot more than I have in the past. And I actually did it pretty fast. GDevelop hasn't been messing up on me like changing sprites and stuff as often. So it's been quite easy to actually get through and actually work on the title or on the game itself. Speaking of title, I decided to call my little mini project, well, let's come up with something right now. Why not? How about Naruto Fighting Dreamers with a Z. It's corny, but I'm in a fighter's mood that I haven't played in a while, so. I want to do more on this project in the future as I learn more about Godot, or Godot. I want to see if I can get the concept of my dream 2D Naruto game off and running since Bandai doesn't want to do it. After completing parts of the game in Godot, I decided to go back to G-Develop even though I was still having problems with it, and I came to the conclusion that I'm going to try to build the game in both engines if I ever finish them, because in the end I do like G-Develop and I also like Godot. So a better way would be just to build in both and try to make both work for what I'm going for. If any developers or anyone with experience want to give tips, let me know. I'm always open to feedback and ideas, and I'll probably still end up dropping the other video about my concept idea for both the 2D and the 3D Naruto game in the future.